Step into the Fieldhouse, your front row seat to legendary victories and untold stories. Hey, I'm your host, Lance Lunner, breaking down sports from the inside out, along with co-host Jimmy Lackey. It's more than just a game. It's the Fieldhouse Podcast. Welcome into the Fieldcast Podcast. Hey, this is the Fieldhouse Podcast. Welcome in. I'm your host. Here, we'll go again. This is the Fieldhouse Podcast. I'm your host, Lance Lunner. We are a production of the Kids Inc. Sports Network. Can't thank you enough for joining us today. Podcast number 10. Jimmy Lackey, CEO of Kids Inc. How's it going today?
Doing great. How about you?
I can't complain.
It's a little rainy out there. We need some water. It's pretty good.
Are you a rain guy?
We need rain, period.
I mean, are you a rain guy?
The kind of rain that's falling out there right now, it's soft, and I can sit under a porch and just watch it all day long.
Yeah, well, I could too. I was at the Masters once. It's raining like crazy. I'm in Georgia where it rains all the time, sprinting away from it. And the guys came up to me and said, they just looked at me like, Lance, it's not acid. It's rain.
Yep.
What are you running from? And so I'm a rain guy now, so I just stand there and let it rain on me.
You just have to.
That changed my life. So, hey, we have a really, really special guest today. I can't thank him enough for coming in. Stefan Caray. He's a Florida guy, grew up in Florida, played college lacrosse, not college baseball. He's made a name for himself as a broadcaster already at his young age. Just look at him. Georgia grad. He loves those dogs. Between the hedges. He's in his third year as the play-by-play announcer and does some color as well for the Sod Poodles. An amazing young talent, and we're blessed to have him in there. So, Steph, you know my first question. What's the best thing that happened to Stefan Caray today?
Wow, I went into a pretty good massage chair here about 5 minutes ago. That was pretty nice. It loosened me up. I think we're all ready to go for this show. And you said I've made a name for myself. I think that's kind of tough to do considering my name, but I'm working on it. And I think I'm significantly older than your last guest and far less talented from what I've heard. So I'm ready to go. It's so good to be here with you.
I love that. Hey, since you brought it up, the Caray name, I'm just literally curious. How young were you? He has a twin brother, Chris, an amazing announcer himself who was with the Oakland A's at this time and was in Amarillo. But, Steph, how young were you guys when you first knew, like, the Caray name is synonymous with baseball?
Yeah, well, wow. I think that I gained consciousness a lot later than a lot of other people. I think that I was totally ignorant of the fact. It was just sort of what my dad did. I never really had a perspective on all of it. My dad was just gone. He worked in baseball. I was more focused on watching Chipper Jones hit home runs than really seeing what my dad did for the games. I'd say I was probably about 10 or 11 when I really figured out, wow, this is cool what my dad does. And I got to really be enamored with what he did for a living and understood that what he did was equally as cool as what these players have done, even though he wouldn't admit it, and I won't admit it now. But yeah. It is a really cool job, and it's a really cool lineage that we've fallen into.
Yeah, Steph's dad, Chip, is the TV broadcaster for the St. Louis Cardinals, was with the Atlanta Braves for a long time as well. Then his grandfather, Skip, obviously, we all grew up with him on TBS with the Braves there. And then his great-grandfather is the one and only Harry Caray. So, and I've never asked you this, and you can hit me if you want. Have you ever thought of one day putting on the Harry Caray glasses and doing a broadcast?
It's coming. It's coming. If need be, though, you know how we love our founding partners with the Sod Poodles. I'm sure I'll go to Rush LASIK first before that happens. But no, I think that would be really cool. I don't run away from the legacy. I try to not be an apologist for my lineage and the people that came before me, but obviously you don't want to lean into it too much. You want to be your own man. But Harry's such a polarizing figure, and for so many people, those big glasses were indicative of the person that was bringing their summers to life with the Chicago Cubs and then with the Cardinals for 25 years back in the day. So maybe if I need cataract surgery or something, I'll slap them on. They're definitely going to be big and thick, but I don't know if I'm going to be taking my shirt off and wearing a white tank top in a hot Chicago summer's day anytime soon.
So, and Jimmy and I wanted to know this. We talked a little bit. When did you say, okay, I think I want to become a broadcaster? Because just because your dad does it, just because it's legacy, doesn't mean that's exactly what you want to do. And you're very good at it, obviously. But when did it become a passion? Because it's harder work. You make it look easy. It's not easy.
No, I think it was, again, something that I found really late in life compared to a lot of other kids. I was an athlete growing up. I wanted to be a professional athlete, and then I realized I was allergic to the weight room in college, and I knew that there was no chance for me to be a professional lacrosse player, or at least to earn a living wage doing that. I figured, okay, what's the only other career I've ever been surrounded by in my life? And it was broadcasting. So as you could tell, I'm very long-winded. I like to talk, and to be able to translate that skill set into something that I could do for a living was something that was really, really cool for me. And baseball was always a passion of mine, at least from a viewership standpoint. I was never that good of a player. I was what you would call a defensive specialist.
Yeah,
could not hit to save my life.
Doesn't go well in high school.
No, does not go well in high school. Does not go well in high school. But found a love with lacrosse on the playing side of things. But I'd say I found it really my freshman year of college. I wanted to major in something sports communication related. There wasn't a whole lot of opportunity at the Division II school that I was at, and then I transferred to the University of Georgia, and things just sort of blew up when I was 20, and then the COVID year happened, and it was off to the races from that point on.
You know, I met Steph and Chris the very first time. They came and spoke to a breakfast club up at the Amarillo Club. I don't know if you remember this or not, but they got up and gave an unbelievable talk. And I walked up to them afterwards, and they didn't know me from Adam, and I just said, guys, I got to tell you something. I've watched your great-grandfather, I've watched your grandfather, I've watched your dad, but you guys stand on your own. And
Oh, yeah.
It's great to have that, and it's a wonderful thing, and to embrace that like you do, I think is outstanding. But I told them that day they're going to be able to stand on their own. And I did the top of the fourth inning with Steph a week or so ago, and just sitting next to him, and he's sitting on my blind side. Y'all know I'm blind in one eye. And I'm just, it's like I'm listening to the radio, literally, because I don't see him. I'm just listening to some headphones. Unbelievable. I mean, he's just spot on, telling you everything that's happening on the deal, and I'm just looking around trying to figure out where am I sitting, you know? He makes it sound like it's so easy, but I know it's not.
Well, that means the world, and I do remember that conversation. That was one of the most fun things that we did our first year, was just getting to talk to people that have been here in this community in Amarillo for a long time, to really ingratiate ourselves. That's something that we really wanted to pride ourselves on, being here in Amarillo, because I really don't think that you can do this job and try and cater to the fan base here in Amarillo without getting to know the people here. I don't think you can just be a voice that exists. You have to be a person that goes out and tries to help and do things. And we spent a lot of time with Advo last year, and that was really rewarding for us. But you guys, what you guys do here at Kids Inc., equally rewarding. I'm sure doing all these things for youth sports, and it's kind of a great marriage between me, who's pretty young for my age to be doing what I'm doing at this level, and you guys promoting this youth movement in sports, because this is where kids' dreams start to come true. This is where they start to build up to what they want to do with their lives.
Yeah, no, it's an amazing program we have here in Amarillo, and it's going to be more amazing once we get the new fields.
It's coming.
It's coming. His favorite question of every day is when we building that thing, right?
We've got a meeting Friday to clear up some engineering issues, and if we can get those settled, then there's going to be some dirt moving out there pretty quick. So we're excited.
I love the sound of that. So I have a question about that. If me and Zach and maybe like two other buddies decided to make a 4-man baseball team, could we go bench warmers against a bunch of the kids?
100%.
Absolutely.
Every time.
I need to feel like a successful athlete at some point in my life, so maybe that's how I'll do it.
I'm betting on the kids.
I didn't say who I was going to bet on, but we can make that happen.
I love that. All right, so you decide to get into broadcasting, you know, and you have it seems like you're just going, you know, you just show up to a game, and it just doesn't work that way. You do research, you do all that. But as you developed, what style did you want to bring? How did you develop a style of what you wanted to bring to the listener? And are you happy where you're at with it right now?
I think so. I think it's always tough in the beginning parts of a season, especially because the off season is so boring. There's not a whole lot going on. I coached lacrosse during the off season, so it's a total shift from what I'm used to doing on the day-to-day. But stylistically, I think I try to take after my dad. And my dad may miss the mark for a lot of people in certain aspects of broadcasting, but one thing that he does, I think, better than anybody else is nail a big moment, right? In today's world where people have such short attention spans, they're not going to sit through a 3-hour game.
Right.
But what they are going to watch is that 12 to 15 second highlight. And if you're nailing those, that's the true testament to what kind of a broadcaster you are in 2024. the best broadcasters to me are the ones that are able to do that and be good storytellers. And with the pitch clock, it's kind of difficult, especially on radio and by myself. When I had you and me always had that back and forth and could talk. And now with Zach, it's been great. But going on the road is tough, trying to be able to handle it all on my own. But I think just trying to nail those big moments and improve upon the storytelling and being a little bit more of an entertainer while also being a broadcaster, especially down a rough stretch like it's been for the Saudis over the last few weeks, you got to be able to entertain them with things outside of the struggles of the game.
That's interesting, and as well. And just so you know, Stefan Chris didn't just jump into Double-A. You did the Cape Cod League. Can you tell us about that? That's one of the most famous wooden bat college leagues in all of the world, really.
Yeah, that's probably the most fun I've ever had broadcasting.
Really?
Yeah,
Why is that?
It was amazing just because my grandparents got to come up there with us. We drove just up the East Coast, right? I drove with my grandpa. We were listening to all of his favorite music from the 50s and 60s and the Carpenters and just kind of bonding over
Easy, that's my.
That's what I'm. Well,
I saw the Carpenters live.
He's a huge Carpenters fan, and we would just listen to
Rainy Days and Mondays.
Yeah, Rainy Days and Mondays, Superstar, just all of it. So he was so excited about going up there, and that was one of the probably the final long trips that they're going to take in their lifetime. To share that moment with them was amazing. My mom was there, my uncle was there, my little brother was there, so it was a family endeavor, and there was something so intimate about the Cape, right? You had the townspeople that were there for the summers that had been doing this for decades, coming out and supporting their local summer league team as if it was their major league team. So much support. They were there every day. Wow. You'd have to get your chairs out and linked to the fence to get your seat in time for the game. Or else you weren't gonna have
Explain that to me real quick. Now, what you bring your own chair?
Yeah. So at Lowell Park, which is where the Katuitt Kettleers played, all wooden seats, all wooden press box, nestled inside the trees. Beach just beyond the trees. No lights, just old-fashioned ballpark, no lights.
Wow.
So,
all-day games?
Yep. No. So they would start at like 5 o'clock.
Oh,
and
okay.
It's kind of like here where it doesn't get dark till late.
Yeah, okay.
But often there would be games where games would end in the 5th inning due to darkness. So you'd pretty much just have to play a regulation 5 innings. And so anyway, my grandparents would always tell us, hey, I know you're getting to the ballpark early. Can you take our chairs and link them up to the fence right up in front so we're not going to be behind somebody so we can see the game? And there were some bleachers, but for them it was a little bit more comfortable to bring lawn chairs. And I mean, there were rows and rows and rows of lawn chairs.
Wow.
And it was amazing. It's truly, if you
never
can
knew
go
that.
and experience that, one of the best things you can ever go and see.
Did you hone your craft there a little bit?
I think so. I think I really found my voice there. We did a lot of games at Georgia Gwinnett College, NAIA, but to be able to do, it was 44 games that summer. That was something that I think we really needed to be able to do it together. I don't think I really got good until probably about 3/4 of the way through my first year, and even then, jury's out if I'm that good or not. But there's a lot of time that it takes to really become yourself on air. And I think that having those opportunities and doing those games and getting reps is what helped me to get to where I am now here in Amarillo.
We spoke briefly, Jimmy. Chris is Steph's twin brother, and you. How special was that? First of all, it sounds like the Cape was incredible, but also your first gig here in Amarillo. Tell us how you got the job with the Sod Poodles. Is kind of a cool story, if I know what I'm talking about, and then having a chance to do that with your bro.
Yeah, I'll say that some habits of my lineage just die hard. Too many margaritas one night in the World Series. We were watching the Braves play the Houston Astros. It was
in the stadium.
In the stadium.
Okay.
It was Game 4 of the series. Adam Duvall had just hit a grand slam in the first inning to take a 4-0 lead, and my mom was recognized by an usher. The usher was sitting next to somebody here in Amarillo, and I'll get to that in a second. Well, that somebody from Amarillo happened to be a fan of my dad, my grandpa, my great-grandfather, and was there at the World Series. So my mom and he touched base, and he said, I'm the president and general manager of the Amarillo Sod Poodles. My name's Tony Enzer. Nice to meet you. And my mom said, well, you know my husband, but I have 2 identical twin sons that are broadcasters. And of course, she was selling me immediately. I know Tony can appreciate that because that dude could sell sand to a person that lives in the desert, man. He is unbelievable.
Well said.
But he, I think, got his gears turning a little bit with Sam Levitt being there Sam was going to go to the major leagues sooner rather than later. He was one of the most talented people in the minor leagues during his time, and now he's with the San Diego Padres doing pre- and post-game show hosting. But he was thinking 2024, 2025 as the first time that Chris and I would get in there. And then Sam, just a few days before the season started, left for San Diego, and Tony was left trying to do something big, and he remembered the conversation with us and gave us a call. I was writing a paper in my musical identity cultural literacy class. It was an elective. And it was about the authenticity of glam metal music.
What?
Through Motley Crue being the case study focus.
Wow.
So I was still writing that paper. It was a 15-page paper on the bus my first 2 weeks of the season, my first year. But I get an email from Tony, and Chris sent me an email that said, quite simply, you better, send that email with your tape and stuff to Tony. Well, what he didn't know is I already had. Tony had emailed me back, wanted to get on a FaceTime call, and I said to my teacher, hey, I can't come to class today. I think I might be getting a job offer, so I've got to go. And she's like, yeah, absolutely, go ahead. So we accept the job. My brother was in the booth in Fayetteville, North Carolina. He had accepted a low A number 2 job.
Didn't know
he was somebody's assistant for all of 3 days. It was his first day at work. He was about to take a staff picture. So he said, Tony, I need to know, am I taking this picture or not? And he said, I wouldn't take that picture. So Chris had to go tell his boss that just hired him 3 days ago, hey, I'm jumping to AA as a lead. And that was an awkward conversation for him, but it was one that I think was one of the cooler conversations we've ever had. And for he and I to be able to make it up to AA as leads at 22 years old, obviously there was a lot of pushback from people that have been in the minors and have grinded it out, but we had to take it all in stride, and we got to do it together. And I don't know what it would have looked like if we didn't get to do it together, but we're fortunate every single day that we did.
Yeah, and now Chris is with the A's. How's that experience been for him when you chat with him?
It's amazing. I think my brother, a lot of people don't know that my brother is a very emotional person, and he had a lot of things going on in his personal life the last couple of years. And for him to be able to have that level of success, to see his dreams realized at a younger age than almost anybody in the history of this industry, is so, so cool. He was the one that really started this journey for me. He knew earlier than I did that he wanted to be a broadcaster.
Okay, yeah.
And so for him to be able to go out and get a major league job, for him to be able to go out and not only float but swim, and swim fast the way that he's performing right now in Oakland with a team that's struggling and still making the games entertaining and fun, it's been a joy to tune into. It's the highlight of my night because the way that things work out, usually the games have been quick, sometimes for worse rather than better this year. So I get to go back and tune in at about the third inning of his games and shoot him some texts and tell him, hey, that call was really good, or hey, that call sucked. And he has a laugh about it. But it's something that we've gotten to share, and all it does is push me even more to try and get to where I want to go.
Before we take a break, do you think, and Jimmy, if you have questions, jump in here. I'm a big fan of this, guys, but I've got to ask you, is the dream someday for you and Chris to be able to do it again together in the same booth?
Maybe in a one-off.
Okay.
One-off time.
Maybe, yeah.
For me and him, I think that Chris's dream is to do that together again, not on a full-time scale. I think we've both understood that it's more important for us to have our own separate identities. I have a lot of people coming up to me and saying, oh, you guys sound so similar. And for me and Chris, we don't sound that similar. But for those who don't really know us or don't listen as intently or closely as a lot of other people in the industry do, we do sound similar. So for us to be able to kind of differentiate ourselves and go down our own roads and maybe be with different organizations and carry them forward in our own way, I think that that's something that's valuable to us. But obviously the family ties are so cool. Getting to do it with my dad and Chris,
oh yeah, that
would be amazing. That would be really, really cool to connect 2 generations. My dad got to connect 3 generations back in 1991. I think that he's certainly very, very excited about the prospect of that. But there are a lot of things that keep you going. I think getting there first is what's most exciting for me. And now that Chris is there, he's looking forward to checking off some more boxes.
Seeing Chris get there, did that make you more hungry?
I think so. I think that I finished pretty close to Chris in the
be fair.
standing.
I mean, probably runner up.
Yeah. In the Oakland Athletics situation. I don't know where exactly I finished, but I know that it was relatively high up. So it was bittersweet at times. I think that it was losing out to your brother is never an easy thing, but I'd rather lose out to my brother 10 times out of 10 than both of us lose out to somebody else. And that's that is something that has really invigorated me and gotten me excited, because Chris had his struggles at AA. Lord knows I have mine. But for him to be able to go to the major leagues in a higher pressure environment and to have seamlessly integrated himself into that broadcast booth, I think that's a testament to how hard he's worked and how well he's performed.
Well, I'll go back and say it again. And this is what I told you the very first time. Y'all are going to be just fine. You're going to get wherever it is you want to go. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to step out for just a minute. You're watching the Fieldhouse Podcast.
Before we dive back into today's episode, let me share a fun fact with you. Did you know that the Fieldhouse Podcast is a production of the Kids Inc. Sports Network? That's right, Kids Inc. isn't just any sports organization. We have been a source for youth sports since 1945. From teaching kids the fundamentals of teamwork to fostering a love for the game, Kids Inc. is where champions are made. And here's the best part. As a listener of the Fieldhouse Podcast, you're a part of the Kids Inc. family too. Head over to kidsinc.org to learn more about current registrations, upcoming sports leagues, and how you can get involved in supporting your local young athletes. But wait, here's the kicker. Have you heard of the Rock Rose Sports Park Home Field Advantage campaign? It's a game changer for our community, aiming to provide state-of-the-art facilities for young athletes to train and compete. So if you believe in the power of sports to shape young lives and want to be a part of something truly special, check out kidsinc.org today and join us in making a difference. Together, let's continue to support the next generation of champions and to ensure that every child has the opportunity to succeed both on and off the field.
Welcome back into the Fieldhouse Podcast. We are a production of the Kids Inc. Sports Network. Love and Life today. We've got Jimmy Lackey in. We've got Chris and Stefan Caray's brother here, right? I almost said Chris Caray.
It's okay. Don't worry.
No, in all seriousness, Steph, one of the calling cards for a great broadcaster is having this home run call. And Chris absolutely nailed one. That's why it was on my mind recently with the A's. Like, it went viral. You know, it was that good of a call. But right now, you're developing that. I find that very interesting, and I'm not calling you out on it. I think it's really cool. You're just not comfortable with that call yet. Will that come sometime?
I think it's just a matter of perspective, right? A lot of guys have a signature call.
Yeah.
And some of them use it for every home run, right? Gary Cohen with the Mets says it's out of here with every home run. Michael Kay, I forget what his is, but you get the gist. Is a lot of guys have a signature home run call. And the call you're referring to was one that Chris kind of married between himself and our great-grandfather. Harry's signature home run call was, it might be, it could be, it is. And on a walk-off, Chris used it might be, it could be, it will be. So he put his little twist on it, and I think that was what made it so cool.
Okay.
Was because you're now seeing somebody that's 3 decades removed from his grandfather doing that at a high level with a team that his great-grandfather used to announce for. So he is finding his own home run call. I think that his home run call is, you could kiss that one goodbye. It's actually, that one's not coming back, and he has the same kind of cadence when he does it, and I love the call. I think it's great. For me, I was never a huge proponent of home run calls, unless you're a very well-established announcer. My whole thing is, I don't want to make the game about me. And even if it's a little tiny portion of the game that is something that I do for myself, it's not about me. It's about the players on the field. And not to suggest that anybody that does that is being selfish or making it about themselves.
Yeah.
I just find that you call it in the moment. You let the moment come to you and you react. That's what makes it cool. There's a lot of premeditation that happens in the broadcast booth. You have the bases loaded. How could you not think of what you're going to say when a guy is coming up? Right, a grand slam is the ultimate offensive piece of hitting that you'll see in this game. So you got to kind of figure out how to rise to the occasion. But no, I don't have a home run call, and my dad's swinging a drive will come out. I try not to copy what he does. My brother tries not to copy what he does, but Robin learned everything he knows from Batman. So you gotta kind of try to figure out.
I like that.
What you can do to make yourself your own person while also holding your own in the booth.
We had a guy, Mark Holtz, that did the Rangers forever, and he would, if they won, hello win column, and that was his. It wasn't a home run call. It was after the game, hello win column, and it became kind of a staple of every broadcast.
Well, and It travels down even to local. I mean, Lee Baker. What's Lee Baker going to say when he's broadcasting and doing the highlights? It's high, it's hard, it's handsome, it's history.
Yeah,
he's going to say it every time.
See, that's the difference, right? For me, I'm looking at it from the perspective of a 24-year-old in this industry. If I'm 60, totally different conversation. Yeah. Right. My dad's partner in Seattle, very, very, very famous radio announcer in Seattle. My oh my was his. Right, Rick Riz.
Rick Riz was Gold Sox.
Yep, was with the Gold Sox. He's got the grand salami whenever a home run's hit, or a grand slam, I should say, in that regard. But there are a lot of guys that have signature sign-offs, and the older you get, to me, the more endearing that it is, because people remember that call and they attribute that call to who you are as a person. Yeah. For me, at this age,
I love the humility, Steph. The humility that you bring to the table, particularly at your age, with the skill set that you really do already have. That's probably the most impressive part for me is your humility.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
So in a nutshell, what is your job as you're announcing a game?
My job in the year of our Lord 2024 is to try and keep people captivated. Like I said, attention spans are less and less every single year, and baseball, I know a lot of people think that baseball's losing fans. They're gaining fans, especially in attendance. The sport is growing rather than shrinking. And for me, it's tough, right? It's tough, especially on the road, because you feel like you're saying the same thing over and over again. 1-2, ball low and away, slider. Say that 50 times a game, that's boring. How can you put your spin on the game and find a way to make it interesting and intriguing for people that are listening or watching? And oftentimes we miss the mark. Oftentimes it's a blowout game and you don't know what to say. Last night we were talking about it. Me and Zach went off the rails just because it had been loss after loss after loss for Amarillo in games where nothing was happening offensively, and then a huge offensive explosion. And you're like, okay, can we get a medium? Let's get a 7-6 game that's close up until the 8th or 9th. But the game was over before it began. It was a 10-run lead by the 5th inning. So you've got to find a way.
Anybody tuned in, you've got to be entertained.
Exactly. So people were probably wondering, what are these two guys just talking about? That's the point. Makes you scratch your head.
You called a Texas League championship last year for the Sod Poodles. Is that the highlight of your young career?
This podcast actually is. Fun fact.
You need to get a life. We need to get you a better life. Okay?
No joke.
I'm telling you, you guys could have had me doing this on the weekend at 7 o'clock. Well, if we didn't have a game, I do need a life.
We appreciate it.
I need a social life.
I didn't mean it that
way. You guys want to go
way.
hang out a little bit? I need friends. No, but I think that was obviously.
I'm sure you do okay.
The paramount moment of what we had accomplished here. I think it was the culmination of all the hard work, all the emotions of the last 2 years to get to call a Texas League championship. And I appreciated Chris letting me take the final call when Christian Montez de Oca got that final strikeout. But I think that there have been a lot of moments. I think there have been a lot of personal moments. Every time you call a huge home run, getting to know the fans, getting to know guys like Lynn Enzi and yourself, and getting to work with you, those are the bigger moments for me. I could care less about the rings and the ad reads and the hits in the middle of June. What I care about is the lasting memories that I'll have here in Amarillo, because you don't want to waste your time away, right? Everybody that's in my position is always looking forward.
Yeah, that's true.
We want to go and get to the major leagues, and obviously I do. But I don't want to look back in 40 years when I have my own complications and my own struggles and not look back at this situation with fondness because I was spending the entire time thinking about getting to the majors. Yeah. You don't take your eye off the ball, but you got to play where your feet are. That's what Tim Bogar says. And if you don't play where your feet are, well, you're going to get DFA'd. And for me, I'm not trying to get DFA'd. I'm trying to get moved up and utilize this great opportunity with the best fans and the best organization in minor league baseball to help me get to where I want to go. And fans have been nothing but supportive of Chris and me, and by extension, my family, that we've been blessed to be able to do what we can do.
I still go back to that first time that I heard him speak, and nothing's changed, and that's been a while. And he's had a lot of success between that point in time and today, and he's still the same guy that he was the day I met him on the 31st floor of the Chase building. And so, it's so refreshing. And in the business that I'm in, we're about kids, and we want kids to to succeed. And the young lady that we had on our kids cast earlier, to see that spunk and the opportunity for her to sit there and look us in the eye and have a conversation. And we were all your age once upon a time, and everybody has big dreams, and we all want to do the next big thing, but your perspective is in place, you're grounded. You could be in another place if you wanted to be, quite frankly, particularly with the lineage, and you own it, but you do your own, and that's what I like about it, Steph. And nothing. You're not going to get anything but props from me because of just the way you handle yourself. So, we had an auction the other night, and they did a jersey auction for Kids Inc. and Steph was up there doing it, and he was over there and had one of the
Actually,
jerseys.
those were cool jerseys.
Oh, they were.
Route 66.
Oh, I think they're the best ones that we
Yeah,
did.
I agree.
We've had them both years, and so, but I took a picture of him. He probably didn't know this. I took a picture of him and sent it to Chris, and all he got back was a big old heart from Chris. Because,
Yeah.
that's how tight they are.
Yeah, I mean, you listened to him today. Before I get you out of here, I got to ask you though. You are so smooth, but is there a tough call? Is there a toughest call for a broadcaster? And let's just give Steph credit for this. Love Hodgetown. I love Hodgetown. Don't get me wrong, but where they put the broadcast booth is brutal for a professional broadcaster trying to make a production, because you're used to seeing behind home plate, the throw coming in. You can time it. You can do whatever. Steph is behind first base, almost in right field, and so you're looking out there. You can't even see home face in your peripheral. So you do an amazing job with that. But without that said, is there a particular call that's tough for a broadcaster that you admire when you hear somebody performing it?
Yeah, especially on radio when you have to describe more. So on the road, I want you to think of a situation here, right? Runner on first. Pretend it's a left-handed hitter. Ball to the gap, right center. You got to call the double, the extra base hit. Okay. Oftentimes, you'll see the shortstop cut off the baseball, or maybe it's a single. Runner on second. Let's go. Runner on second, single. Runner's going to score from second. Ball is cut off by the shortstop. You'll see a runner try and stretch for second or go back to first. You've got to not only call who fields the ball in center, who hits the ball, who's rounding third and coming in to score. You got to call the ball was cut off, where the throw goes into. It's like 5 different things at once. So those plays where there's hyper attention on multiple base runners, those ones are really difficult. Really, really difficult. Home runs are easy. Singles are easy. Triples are a little bit tougher because you're used to seeing doubles. At Hodgetown, you always have to be prepared. There's a chance for an inside the park home run the way that the corners play. It's not easy. I think that balls hit to center look like they're hit in right center at Hodgetown. Balls hit to left look like they're hit to left center. So you have to adjust. You really have to adjust to finding a way to call the game a certain way. But the more complicated the play, what you'd imagine, pickles, guys getting run down, those are always difficult. But that's what makes it fun. You never want to have the easy, hey, there's a ground ball to short, backhanded by Cintrone, he'll throw to first, there's one out. That's not fun. You got to be challenged. You got to be pushed a little bit, and that's something that you learn every single day, especially with a team that's been struggling. You'll see some miscues defensively that you really don't know how to describe it, and I think you have to give yourself a little bit of grace. If you can't catch the play in the moment, you have to break it down afterwards. Well, you have a time to collect your thoughts and figure out how you want to best articulate that to describe it to the fan that's not able to see what's happening.
With that said, and respecting the players trying to do the best they can.
Absolutely.
Don't you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you do a really good job with that.
Well, I think that nobody wants to listen to a broadcaster that's going in and canning the players. This is a difficult league, and you get to understand what the players are going through when you're on the bus with them every day. You get to understand what kind of human beings they are. And there are a lot of guys that get frustrated having to watch bad baseball. I've watched some bad baseball this year. But my goal is in alignment with theirs. I want to see all of our guys go up to the major leagues. I want to see all of them have their dreams actualized. Imagine if the players were sitting in the clubhouse listening to my broadcast, and maybe there are some of them that are actively rooting against me trying to get promoted.
Yeah. Not cool.
Think about that. Role reversal would be me thinking that way about them. That's horrible.
Yeah.
And I just was never raised that way. I think you're always going to try and do what your role models have shown you to do. I think that's why Kids Inc. is such a good thing, is that kids who have good coaches, kids who have good parents, good teachers, they inevitably come out being better people because they give them an ideal to strive toward. And I always want to be somebody that the players will look back in 5 years when they're in the majors and say, hey, man, it's so good to see you. Guys like Corbin Carroll. My brother's already experiencing that with some guys from the last 2 years up in the majors. And that's the most gratifying feeling in the world, is to know that these players know that all you want from them is to do your job the right way, and you're rooting on them instead of asking them for autographs and peppering them for things that they're getting all the time. You got to be in the player's corner, because if you're not, then I don't know how you do this job successfully.
Yeah, well
Hey,
said.
before you
said.
bail us out here, I want to say something. This is our 10th podcast, and this was something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. Ashley and I've had this conversation for a long, long time. So I want to thank some folks. Number one, I got the 182nd member of the Panhandle Sports Hall of Fame sitting right next door to me every time. I'm just here as dead weight. It's just something I wanted to do. Steph, for you to come in here and for people to hear your acumen and the details of what you do, they're figuring out it's not easy. And so I'm sitting here with one Hall of Famer, one will be a Hall of Famer of his own in his own right in due time. I've got two young ladies sitting over there behind the set that put this together every week, and this is just not work for me. This is fun, but I think it's a service that we can provide as a youth sports organization that's a little different than our daily routine, and to be able to do that, work with Lance, who serves on our board, and we've been friends a long time, and have folks like you come in, means a lot to me. And so I just want to say that to everybody out there. We've got some regulars out there that listen to us, and I'm going to call two of them out. One of them's been our guest, Rick Cooper. Carlton Bogus, another friend of mine from up in Dumas, he doesn't miss one of these. Another one of our board members, Sean Knox, took his dad to the cabin in Santa Fe, and they listened to all of them. And so, continue to share our podcast out there with folks, because we get folks like this on here. You need to share that with them, because there's some really good stuff. So thanks from me to everybody involved.
Very well said. Very well said. I love that. In 10 seconds, the UIL, which is the governing body of Texas high school sports, is considering lacrosse as a sport, which is not right now in Texas. Do it?
Absolutely. There's really no game like it. I love baseball, but I love lacrosse. There's just a different level of passion. It is, to me, the greatest game ever created.
Wow.
It combines the physicality of football, the speed of ice hockey, the teamwork of basketball, old-style basketball, right? Not as many ISOs.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great game. And you can play it as an off-season sport. If you're a football player, you can play it as an off-season sport, and it'll help you with your conditioning. It's a great game. I think it would boom here, especially if taught right. But no, I really want to just thank Jimmy and thank you. You guys are the best. And Lance, I've told you this, and you'll never accept it because you're the most humble person in any room you walk into. You are the voice of the Texas Panhandle. You are the sports personality in the Texas Panhandle.
I appreciate you being so kind. But
you absolutely are. And there's a reason why I wanted Lance to be my partner, and that's the reason why. Is not because of his acclaim, not because of what he's been able to accomplish, but
not my skill at it either. Trust me.
Well, just because he was always there for me and Chris when a lot of people, I think, wanted something different out of Chris and I. And the interviews from Lance were always just friendly like this. Yep. And so if there's ever anything I can do for either of you guys, please.
Thanks for being here today.
Yeah.
We really love the honesty and all the insight. It was awesome. It really was. So, hey, that's the Fieldhouse Podcast. I got that right that time. How about that, guys? So we can't thank you enough for joining us today. We will be back sometime. Thank you for viewing today.